Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever, played around with those AI image generators where you can type in a description and it spits out a picture?
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
So, like, you can say a neon pink flamingo standing on a beach, and they'll, try to create that image.
Right.
But sometimes it gets those little details wrong, like the flamingo might be pale pink instead of neon or something.
Yeah, it's like it understands the big picture but misses those fine-grained details.
So frustrating, right? Like you wanted to get those details exactly right.
Well, today we're diving into some new research that's tackling this very problem. And if you're interested in seeing AI get better at understanding those fine-grained details, well, hit that subscribe button because your support helps us keep bringing you these deep dives.
Yeah, those details are really what makes the difference between an image that's just okay and one that's truly impressive.
So how are researchers trying to bridge that gap?
Well, the research we're looking at today focuses on a technique called ALO, which stands for Leave One Out Proximal Policy Optimization.
I know it's a mouthful, but essentially LOP is a new way to fine-tune AI image generators, specifically these things called diffusion models, to help them understand those detailed instructions.
LOP. Okay. So before we get into the specifics of how it works, can you give us a quick overview of diffusion models? What are they and why are they so important in AI image generation?
Sure. So diffusion models are a type of AI model that have really revolutionized the way we generate images from text descriptions. Imagine you have like a really intricate sandcastle on the beach.
Okay.
A diffusion model starts by slowly adding noise to the image of that sandcastle. It's like the wind is gradually scattering the sand until eventually you can't even recognize the sandcastle anymore.
It's like completely blurred out.
Exactly. And then the diffusion model learns how to reverse that process. It learns how to go from that pile of sand back to the original sandcastle step by step.
So that's a really cool analogy.
Yeah, it's learning how to reconstruct the image from pure noise.
So how does LOP fit into all of this?
Well, loop height comes in to refine the diffusion model's ability to follow specific instructions. It's like taking an artist who already knows how to paint, but then giving them specialized training to become a master portrait painter.
Okay, I see.
They have the basic skills, but now they need to learn to capture the nuances of facial features, expressions, and lighting.
So it's like giving the AI model a master class in image creation.
Exactly. And this training happens through what we call reinforcement learning, which is basically a way of teaching AI by rewarding it for the behaviors we want.
Okay.
So in this case, the AI model gets rewarded when it generates an image that closely matches the detailed instructions it's given. And over time, it learns to pay more attention to those specific details like the colors, shapes, textures, even things like spatial relationships between objects.
Oh, so it's kind of like teaching a dog a trick by giving it treats when it gets it right.
That's a great way to put it. The AI is learning by getting those virtual pats on the head.
I like that. And what's so exciting about LO is that it makes this whole training process more efficient, more effective than previous methods.
Right. It's like it helps the AI learn faster and make fewer mistakes along the way.
So we get better images quicker. That's the goal.
Exactly. And remember that frustration you mentioned earlier about the AI getting the colors wrong? Well, LO is specifically designed to address that kind of problem.
Okay, now I'm starting to see how this could be a real game changer. So if LOP helps the AI understand those fine-grained details, how did the researchers actually test it? Did they just give it a bunch of image prompts and see what it came up with?
Well, they did something a little more systematic than that. They tested LOP on this benchmark that's specifically designed to challenge an AI's ability to what we call bind attributes.
Bind attributes, okay.
Yeah. So binding attributes basically means understanding the relationship between different elements in an image. Like, if you ask for a red apple on a blue tablecloth, you want the AI to get both the color of the apple correct and its position relative to the tablecloth.
Right, because without that binding ability, you could end up with a blue apple on a red tablecloth.
Exactly. It needs to understand how those different attributes go together.
So how did LOP do on this attribute binding test?
Yeah.
Did it pass with flying colors?
It did. LO consistently achieved higher scores on this benchmark compared to other methods out there. It was significantly better at correctly binding colors, shapes, textures, and spatial relationships to the instructions it was given.
So it really is demonstrating a deeper understanding of those instructions. It's not just matching keywords, it's actually grasping the concept of what the user wants.
That's exactly right. And the researchers didn't stop there. They also wanted to see how well LO could generate aesthetically pleasing images.
Well, interesting, because sometimes AI-generated images can be technically impressive, but they just lack that certain something that makes them beautiful or captivating to look at.
Yeah, sometimes they can feel a little bit sterile or artificial. And what's interesting is that even though ELOP wasn't specifically designed to improve the aesthetics of the images, it still did a better job than other methods in that area.
Wow, that's really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So LOP is not only helping AI understand instructions better, but it's also making those AI-generated images more visually appealing.
Right.
This is starting to sound like a real game changer for anyone who uses images, whether they're designers, artists, or just someone who wants to create cool visuals.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to explore more in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll delve into the potential impact of ELOP on different fields like art and design, and even things like education and healthcare. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome. I can't wait. We'll be right back after this.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the deep dive,
Where we are going to continue exploring ELOP and all the amazing things it could do for AI image generation. You know, before the break, we were talking about how ELOP is making AI much better at following our instructions and even understanding those really specific details that we want in our images.
But it's not just about making AI better technically, is it?
No, you're right. It's about something much bigger. It's really about unlocking a whole new level of creative potential for pretty much everyone.
I love that. You know, one thing that keeps coming to mind for me when we talk about LOP is this idea of democratizing creativity. Like, imagine if anyone, regardless of their artistic skills, could use AI to bring their ideas to life. It'd be like having a personal AI artist at your fingertips, ready to take whatever you can imagine and turn it into a stunning visual. What do you think about that?
That's a really interesting thought. I mean, LOP could give people the ability to express themselves visually in ways that they just never thought possible before. Think about the potential for designers, entrepreneurs, educators, anyone who uses visuals to communicate. They could create amazing marketing materials, design new and unique products, develop educational content that's actually engaging and exciting. The applications are almost endless.
It's like giving everyone a superpower.
Hmm.
But, you know, some people might be worried that AI tools like LOP could replace human artists. What do you think about that? Is that a valid concern?
I can understand why some people might feel that way, but personally I see it a bit differently. I think that AI is really a tool. It's an extension of our own capabilities, not a replacement for human creativity.
Right.
It's kind of like the relationship between a photographer and their camera. The camera itself doesn't create the art the photographer does. The camera just gives them a way to capture their vision.
That's a great analogy. So are you saying that AI tools like LOP could become like the cameras of the future?
Exactly. It's about collaboration between humans and AI, not competition. AI can handle those more technical aspects of creating the image, which frees up the artist to focus on the concepts, the emotions, the bigger picture of their work.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of those technical aspects, one thing that I find really fascinating about LO is that it kind of gives us a glimpse into how AI actually learns. You know, we hear so much about AI being this mysterious black box, but LOP's approach actually lets us see a little bit of what's going on inside that black box.
You're absolutely right. By rewarding the AI for producing images that match the instructions that we give it, LOPs is essentially guiding the AI to a deeper understanding of those instructions.
Oh, I see.
It's kind of like how we teach a child to recognize different shapes and colors by pointing them out and praising them when they get it right. And as the AI gets more of this feedback, its understanding becomes more and more sophisticated.
So it's not just about mimicking human creativity. It's about actually developing an understanding of human intentions and concepts.
Exactly. And this is where things get really, really interesting. If AI can learn to create art that is not only beautiful, but also conceptually meaningful, does that mean that AI is developing a form of intelligence that rivals our own?
Wow, that's a really big question.
Yeah.
I mean, philosophers and scientists have been debating the nature of intelligence for centuries, and now AI is adding a whole new dimension to that debate.
It's a conversation that we definitely need to have. As AI continues to evolve, it's so important that we think critically about the ethical implications of its growing capabilities. We need to make sure that we're using this technology responsibly and ethically.
You're absolutely right. But let's bring it back to Ella Ippy for a minute. Aside from all these big philosophical questions, what are some of the practical ways that this research could impact the real world? What are some applications that you're particularly excited about?
One area where I think LP has huge potential is in personalized content creation. I mean, we're already seeing the rise of personalized experiences in so many industries, from entertainment to e-commerce.
Right.
And AI-powered image generation could take that personalization to a whole new level.
Like those ads that seem to know exactly what you're interested in.
Exactly. But imagine something even more sophisticated than that. Imagine getting product recommendations that are not only tailored to your preferences, but also include unique visuals that were created specifically for you.
Or being able to design your own virtual avatar that actually reflects your personality and style. That would be really cool.
Absolutely. LOP could make it possible to generate visuals that are not just personalized, but also really engaging and memorable. It could change the way we interact with technology and how we experience the world around us.
This is also fascinating. But, so it's still kind of a work in progress.
In a sense, yes. But that's the exciting thing about research. It's a constant journey of discovery and improvement.
I can definitely see that. What are some of the other reasons why it's not widely available yet?
Well, another reason is that the field of AI image generation is moving incredibly fast. There are always new techniques and models being developed all the time.
It's a really competitive landscape out there.
It is, and so it takes time for any new method to gain widespread adoption. It's kind of like with any new technology. There's always a period of early adoption before it becomes mainstream.
Right.
And then finally, there are also some ethical considerations that need to be addressed before we make AI image generation tools widely available.
Like the concerns we talked about earlier with deepfakes and misinformation.
Exactly. We have to be careful about the potential for misuse of this technology. We need to find ways to ensure that these tools are used responsibly and that they don't contribute to spreading harmful content.
That makes sense. So it sounds like while OLOP is a super promising technology, there are still a few hurdles to overcome before it becomes something that everyone can use. But it seems like we're going to be hearing a lot more about OLO and other similar techniques in the coming years.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. And that's what we're going to be discussing in the final part of our deep dive. We're going to explore some of the potential future directions of this research and what kind of impact it could have on different industries and even on society as a whole. Stay tuned for that.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of what LOP can do. We've talked about how it can make these AI image generators so much better at understanding what we want and how it could even make creativity accessible to pretty much everyone. But I'm curious about the big picture. Like, how could this technology really change the world in the years to come?
That's the question that keeps me up at night in a good way. Of course, the potential applications of this technology are just mind-boggling, but one area that I'm particularly excited about is the impact that LeapLup could have on the entertainment industry.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I can see how that would be huge. I mean, we're already seeing AI being used to create really cool special effects and generate lifelike characters in movies and video games. But with LeapLup, it feels like we could take things to a whole new level.
Absolutely. Imagine a world where filmmakers could create entire scenes or even whole movies with the help of AI. They could design fantastical creatures, build these sprawling cities, craft really complex action sequences, all with incredible speed and efficiency.
Wow, it'd be like having an entire team of digital artists at your command working 24/7 to bring your vision to life. And speaking of vision, what about the audience? How could LeapLup change the way that we actually experience entertainment?
Well, it could lead to these hyper-personalized entertainment experiences where the AI is actually generating content that's tailored to your individual preferences. Imagine watching a movie where the storyline changes based on the choices that you make, or playing a video game where the environment evolves based on your actions.
That would be incredible. It's like choose your own adventure, but on a much grander scale. It'd be fascinating to see how that kind of interactivity would change storytelling and the whole way we engage with entertainment. And it's not just movies and video games, right?
Not at all. The potential applications go way beyond entertainment, for example. I think LOP could have a really profound impact on healthcare.
Oh, yeah. Now that you mention it, I can see how AI image generation could be incredibly useful in things like medical imaging and diagnostics.
Exactly. Imagine AI assisting radiologists in analyzing scans, maybe even detecting tiny abnormalities with much greater accuracy and speed than humans can. And it could also help personalize treatment plans by generating visualizations that help patients really understand their conditions and make more informed decisions about their own healthcare.
It's like giving doctors this powerful new tool to see inside the human body and understand what's going on in a way that we've never been able to before. And it's not just doctors, it's empowering patients to take a more active role in their own healthcare journey, which is amazing. And what about education? I feel like Dimly could completely revolutionize the way that we learn.
Oh, absolutely. It could make learning so much more engaging, interactive, and personalized than it is today. Just imagine textbooks coming to life with 3D visualizations or students being able to create their own virtual labs to conduct experiments without any physical limitations.
It's like giving every student their own personal tutor and their own state-of-the-art laboratory all rolled into one. It could really level the playing field when it comes to access to quality education, which is so important. And speaking of accessibility, I'm curious about how LOP could be used to help people with disabilities.
That's a really great point. Loops' ability to translate text into images could be a game changer for people with visual impairments. AI could generate audio descriptions of images, making visual content accessible to a much wider audience. We could even see entirely new forms of assistive technology that are based on Loop's capabilities.
It's incredible to think about how this technology could break down barriers and create a more inclusive world for everyone. But of course, with any powerful technology, there are always potential downsides and risks that we have to consider. We talked earlier about the ethical concerns around AI-generated images, like the possibility of creating deep fakes and spreading misinformation. Are there any other challenges that we should be thinking about?
Well, one concern is the potential impact on employment as AI becomes more capable of performing tasks that used to require human creativity. There are legitimate concerns about job displacement in certain sectors.
Yeah, that's definitely something to think about. It's like any technological revolution, there will be winners and losers, and we need to be mindful of the potential consequences for society. But I'm also hopeful that new jobs and opportunities will emerge as AI becomes more integrated into our lives.
Yeah.
It's all about adaptation and finding ways to work alongside these new technologies.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations now before this technology becomes even more widespread. We need to be proactive in addressing the ethical and societal implications of AI, ensuring that it's used for good and that it benefits all of humanity, not just a select few.
You're so right. It's not enough to just develop the technology. We also need to develop the wisdom and foresight to use it responsibly and ethically.
Exactly. The future is not something that's set in stone. It's something that we shape through the choices that we make today.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into LOP, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What do you hope they'll remember from our conversation?
I think there are a few key points to keep in mind. First, Lubeck is a really powerful new technique that's changing what's possible with AI image generation. It's allowing AI to understand and respond to our creative intentions in ways that we never thought possible before.
And second, the potential applications of this technology are vast, spanning industries, from entertainment and healthcare to education and accessibility.
And third, while there are definitely challenges and risks to consider, we have a responsibility to guide the development and deployment of AI in a way that benefits all of humanity.
And finally, it's important to remember that AI is ultimately a tool. It's up to us as humans to decide how we want to use it and what kind of future we want to create with it. This has been such a fascinating exploration of LO and all of its potential. I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
It's been my pleasure. I'm always excited to talk about the transformative power of AI and what it could mean for our future.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI image generation. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world of AI. Until next time, keep exploring.